There is a sign, hand-painted and weathered, that stands at the entrance to a dark path in the mountains of Kyushu, Japan. It is a stark warning to all who approach. It reads, "The Constitution and laws of Japan do not apply from this point forward." This is not a joke, and it is not a piece of folklore. It is a gateway. It marks the border to a place so steeped in death, violence, and paranormal phenomena that the Japanese government has been forced to physically seal it off from the world. A place where the normal rules of reality seem to warp and break. It is a land that contains a drowned village, a cursed tunnel, and a history written in blood. This is the story of Inunaki, Japan's most forbidden and terrifying place. The legend of Inunaki is a tangled web of history and horror, a story told into tragic parts that have merged into one modern nightmare. The first part begins centuries ago with the original Inunaki village. Tucked away deep in the mountains, it was an isolated community, fiercely protective of its territory and deeply suspicious of any outsiders. They lived by their own rules, separated from the rest of Japan. For generations, they survived. But in the 1970s, the modern world came for them. The Japanese government, in a push for infrastructure, built the Inunaki Dam. The project was a success, creating a massive reservoir to serve the region. But the creation of this new lake came at a price. The entire original site of Inunaki village was submerged, drowned beneath billions of gallons of cold, still water. The homes, the streets, and most importantly, the graves of their ancestors, were lost forever to the dark depths. The villagers were relocated, their history erased, but a place with that much history does not simply vanish. The spirit of Inunaki, it is said, did not drown, it merely moved. The curse of the displaced villagers festered, looking for a new home. And it found one. In a new structure built nearby, a long, dark passage known as the old Inunaki Tunnel. This tunnel is the heart of the modern legend. It is a scar carved into the mountain, a concrete tombstone for the drowned village. Even before it was officially abandoned, it was a place of profound dread. It was long, narrow, and perpetually dark. Locals who were forced to use it would tell stories of strange whispers echoing from its curved walls, of car engines suddenly dying in the middle of the tunnel, and of seeing fleeting, shadowy figures in their rearview mirrors. They believed the ghosts of the Inunaki villagers had claimed the tunnel as their own, their tormented spirits lashing out at any who dared to trespass on their new territory. For years, these were just stories, whispers in the dark. But then, on December 7, 1988, folklore violently crashed into reality. A group of 5 young criminals, looking for a car to steal, targeted a 20-year-old factory worker named Koichi Ukiyama. They abducted him, tormented him, and in their search for a place to commit their final, horrific act, they drove to the one place they knew no one would ever follow them, the old Inunaki Tunnel. Inside that dark, concrete passage, they murdered him. To hide the evidence, they doused his body in gasoline and set it ablaze. The tunnel became an oven, amplifying the horror of the act. The crime was brutal and shocked the nation. It cemented the tunnel's reputation as a place of real, tangible evil. It was no longer just haunted by the sad ghosts of the past. It was now stained by the violent, hateful energy of a modern murder. The paranormal activity was said to have exploded after the crime, as if the act had awakened something far more malevolent. The whispers were no longer just sad, they were angry. The shadows were no longer fleeting, they were aggressive. The government, facing a location that was now both a legendary haunted site and a notorious murder scene, made a decision. They built a new, safer tunnel nearby. The old Inunaki Tunnel was officially closed and its entrances were sealed with massive, imposing concrete blocks, a desperate attempt to lock the horror away for good. But you cannot seal a legend. And you cannot block a ghost. For decades now, the sealed tunnel has acted not as a deterrent, but as a challenge. It has become a dark monument, a holy grail for a specific kind of adventure, the urban explorer. In Japan, this subculture is known as Heikyo, the art of exploring ruins. It is a community built on a quiet reverence for forgotten places, a silent protest against Japan's relentless cycle of destruction and renewal. For these explorers, Inunaki is not just a destination, it is a pilgrimage. And the stories they bring back from the other side of the concrete blocks are more terrifying than any ancient folklore. The journey begins long before the tunnel itself. The modern road that leads towards the old pass is deceptively normal, but as you get closer, the atmosphere begins to change. A profound and suffocating sense of dread begins to settle over you. A heavy blanket of unseen malice that presses in from the ancient, silent trees that crowd the roadside. The first real sign that you are entering a different territory is the old hand-painted sign, a chilling welcome that confirms you are on the right path. From there, the explorer must leave their vehicle and proceed on foot down an overgrown path that was once the main road. The air grows noticeably colder, a damp chill that has nothing to do with the weather. This is where the first layer of phenomena begins. The first sign that the normal rules are breaking down often comes from the technology they carry. The bright, reassuring screen of a smartphone will flicker and die, its battery draining from full to empty in a matter of impossible seconds. Digital cameras, meant to capture the truth of the place, will refuse to focus, their lenses blurring as if unable to comprehend the scene before them. High-powered flashlights, a lifeline in the oppressive dark, will sputter and fade to a weak, pathetic orange glow, leaving the explorer in a sudden, terrifying blackness. It is as if the place itself is actively hostile to any attempt to record or illuminate it. Then come the sounds. At first, they are subtle, easily dismissed as the wind in the trees or the rustling of animals. But as one gets closer to the sealed entrance, the sounds become more distinct, more intelligent, and far more sinister. Faint whispers seem to ride on the wind, speaking in a language that is just on the edge of comprehension. The clear, heartbreaking sound of a woman crying can be heard echoing from the direction of the tunnel, a sound of pure, unending grief. And most terrifyingly, many have reported hearing the blood-curdling scream of a man in agony, a sound that seems to rip through the silence of the forest. A psychic echo of the murder that stained this land forever. These are the auditory gatekeepers of Inunaki, the first warning to turn back. Those who ignore the warnings and find a way past the concrete barricades step into the heart of the darkness. The inside of the old Inunaki Tunnel is a place of profound wrongness. The air is thick, heavy, and difficult to breathe. The graffiti that covers the walls, meant to be an act of human defiance, instead feels like a desperate attempt to ward off the oppressive silence. It is here that the paranormal encounters become physical. The feeling of being touched by an unseen hand is one of the most commonly reported experiences. A cold, sharp pressure on the shoulder. The feeling of icy fingers brushing against the back of the neck. Some have even reported being violently pushed or shoved by a powerful, invisible force, sending them stumbling in the dark. The temperature inside fluctuates wildly. Explorers will walk through pockets of intense, unnatural cold, a phenomenon known as a cold spot, believed to be a sign of a spirit manifesting. These cold spots are not stationary, they move, following explorers through the tunnel as if a silent, unseen entity is walking right beside them. Its chilling presence the only evidence of its existence. Apparitions are frequently witnessed within the tunnel's oppressive confines. The most famous is the ghost of a young woman in a white, blood-stained dress. She is often seen standing motionless at the far end of the tunnel, a pale, silent figure watching from the darkness. When a light is shone upon her, she either vanishes instantly or, more terrifyingly, begins to glide towards the observer at an unnatural speed. Other explorers have reported seeing shadow figures, tall, man-shaped voids of pure blackness that dart across the tunnel walls or stand in the alcoves, their presence radiating a palpable sense of malevolence. These are not the sad ghosts of the drowned village. These feel like something older, something darker. But the most terrifying evidence gathered from Inunaki comes from what cannot be seen or felt, but only heard later. Paranormal investigators who have conducted EVP sessions within the tunnel have captured chilling results. In the dead silence, their audio recorders have picked up clear, disembodied voices speaking directly into the microphone. These are not whispers, they are clear, direct messages from the other side. Voices that say, in a cold, guttural tone, "Get out." Voices that whisper the names of the investigators themselves. And in one infamous recording, a clear, childlike voice can be heard saying, "You will die here." This is the true horror of Inunaki. It is not a passive haunting. It is an active, intelligent, and malevolent presence. It is a place that knows you are there and it wants you to leave. Or it wants you to stay forever. The curse of Inunaki is said to be the final, terrible souvenir for those who escape the tunnel. The legend states that the tunnel's influence follows you home. It clings to you. Those who have trespassed in its domain report a string of terrible luck in the weeks and months that follow unexplained accidents, sudden illnesses, financial ruin. The haunting doesn't always end when you leave the forest. Many have reported paranormal activity in their own homes after visiting, objects moving on their own, shadowy figures seen in their peripheral vision, and the terrifying sound of whispers in the dead of night. The curse is a psychological one as well. Visitors speak of crippling paranoia, of a persistent, unshakable feeling of being watched, of a creeping dread that follows them back into their normal lives. It is as if a piece of the tunnel's darkness has latched onto their soul and refuses to let go. So, what is the truth of this place? What makes Inunaki so uniquely terrifying? There are many theories. Some believe the spirits of the original villagers, their graves desecrated by the dam, are the primary source of the haunting, their anger creating a powerful psychic disturbance. Others believe that the horrific murder in 1988 acted as a dark catalyst, a blood sacrifice that supercharged the location's existing negative energy and opened a portal for something much worse to come through. A more scientific theory suggests that the area may have unique geological properties, such as high concentrations of quartz or unusual magnetic fields, which could affect the human brain and create feelings of paranoia and hallucinations. But no, theory can fully explain the sheer volume and consistency of the paranormal reports that have emerged from this place for decades. The hand-painted sign at the entrance, once thought to be a simple prank, now feels like the most honest and accurate description of the location. It is a declaration that this small patch of land is a sovereign nation of the dead. It is a place where our laws, our logic, and our understanding of reality no longer have any authority. It is a place that does not want you there. And it has its own rules,